Can everybody hear me and see the screen? Yeah. Okay. So, so I actually, whenever I was applying for this project, you're trying to create an acronym. So I've somewhat created an acronym. So it's called SO'ME time, and which stands for social media use among young people with type 1 diabetes and the influence on mental well-being. So just a bit of context as to why we're particularly interested in this group of young people. Young people with diabetes are already at greater risk of mental health issues because they live with a pretty difficult chronic condition, which many young people get from a young age and have to live with for the rest of their life. So, I mean, a bit of background, I don't know if many people know what type 1 diabetes is, but it's an autoimmune condition, which means that the pancreas can't produce insulin, which means that the body can't actually reduce the amount of blood glucose that gets into their bloodstream and provide the body's cells with that glucose. So there's a lot of it floating around the bloodstream. And whenever blood glucose remains in the bloodstream, it can cause all sorts of damage to the nervous system, the eyes, the kind of peripheral limbs and so on. So it's really important that they manage it. But for a young person who's already grown up with the typical challenges faced by being young and growing up, and particularly going into puberty, this can really add pressure. So a lot of research has found that whenever young people are exposed to this added mental health pressure, it can affect their diabetes self-care. And we know also that added kind of psychological distress can actually cause greater fluctuations in the blood glucose. So there's a kind of vicious cycle going on there. As well as that, research has shown that in this particular group of young people, things like body dysmorphia and eating disorders are quite common. And this is really because whenever a young person has to inject insulin into their body, this causes over time scarring in the body. So, being young anyway and growing up, we know that young people can experience body, difficulties with their bodies, so, because of social pressures and so on. So this is just added strain for them. Eating disorders as well. So insulin is a growth hormone. So taking insulin can often result in an added weight gain, which can be distressing, and particularly at certain ages. And it can be managed in different ways, but for some young people, this is an added difficulty. And social anxieties can result from having to inject in public and also just feeling left out by their friends. So there's all sorts of difficulties experienced by young people. But why we're particularly interested in online is that we know that young people, particularly around the ages of 13 to 17, spend a lot of time online. But young people are with diabetes, type 1 diabetes, are a little bit different because not only do they engage in online content for general purposes, as all young people do, but they also go online to find out more about their diabetes and to engage in diabetes content. So it's kind of a double whammy in terms of what they're exposed to. As well as that, the diabetes community and Diabetes UK and many research studies are now interested in, okay, so how can we engage young people in better mental health support? Let's do online kind of studies. So they're almost encouraged then to seek greater support online. Now that's very beneficial and has been shown to be beneficial, but we don't quite know what the risks to that are because they're spending more time online and that there's a lot of unmanned content then. So really building on that context, I'll just go to the aim first. We really want to gain a better understanding of young people's experiences online, both the helpful and less helpful aspects of this. And we're particularly interested in what the helpful and less helpful elements of this online exposure is like for them in terms of general social media content, as well as diabetes specific social media content and how the two overlap. And as well as that, given the current climate and COVID-19, we're probably going to get a lot of a really good understanding on how young people have coped online during lockdown. And really why this is important is that we want to learn how how we can equip young people with the skills to navigate safely through online content. And we just don't quite know, you know, what this kind of twofold exposure has been like for young people. There's been a lot of research that's looked at online interventions in young people, but there's very little focused on the risks in this particular group. So just back to who is involved. So I'm leading this research in collaboration with clinicians and researchers at Queens University Steno Diabetes Centre, which is in Copenhagen in Denmark, and NUI Galway. So there's a range of expertise there, but most importantly, we are also going to involve a panel of young people with type 1 diabetes who I'll get to in the next slide. So I guess the plan for this research is threefold. The first action really is recruiting this panel of young people with type 1 diabetes, and we want to kind of get a representation across the age ranges from 13 to 20, and we hope to get representation from Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland and Denmark, which will provide a really nice kind of, you know, dynamic in terms of their experiences. And I think it'll be a really nice opportunity for the young people to meet individuals from a different country. And we want to recruit this panel of young people really from the get-go, because we want them to help us with the design of the research, which I'll get to in a couple of minutes, the interpretation of the results, and then dissemination of the findings. As well as that, kind of in tandem with the recruitment of young people, I'm leading a scoping review at the minute, which is really going to get a coherent sense of what the literature tells us about the role of social media in the context of diabetes. Now, there's going to be so little in the context of young people with diabetes specifically, so we're going to look at it broadly. So how is social media used in the context of diabetes? And that could be adults and young people as well. So it's really a mapping exercise to notice the gaps. And this will be informative for the research project itself, as well as future research in the context of social media and diabetes. So get into the crux of the project. We hope to undertake some focus groups with young people with type 1 diabetes who are aged 13 to 20. So there's going to be a series of focus groups, and it will most likely be divided into groups of you know, it could be six to eight young people within each focus group. Because they're going to be online now, we'll probably do a series of mini focus groups rather than have young people sitting on an online kind of meeting for a long period of time. We'll probably divide the age groups into 13 to 15, 16 to 20, you know, just to kind of allow young people to be in a space with like-minded young people rather than have that huge age gap. But ultimately, why we want to recruit the panel of young people is to help us inform the development of these focus groups, because they're going to be best placed to give us some advice on what would work best, you know, because it's a sensitive topic and we're doing it online. So we want to make sure that we address it in a sensitive way, but we also want to make sure that we engage young people and you know, that we make it a positive experience for them. And we hope to use some art-based creative methods within those focus groups to help young people kind of, you know, feel comfortable sharing maybe some difficult kind of interactions online. You know, so it could be through drawings or photo voice. So one idea that I'd suggested to the team and that whenever we recruit the panel of young people is in between a focus group to get people to take screenshots or photos or sketches of some of their experiences online, and if they're comfortable to bring it and share it in the focus group, even if it's anonymously. So that's kind of the threefold action plan. We also, another element of the project is that I mentioned using creative methods in the focus groups, but I would really love to create some sort of art-based production of the findings in collaboration with the panel of young people, whether it's a kind of a cartoon or comic strip the findings that the young people that we recruit for the panel could actually disseminate themselves. But that's all a bit up in the air at the minute, and we hope that's what the young people that we recruit for the panel will help us with. So just getting to the end then, I guess I mentioned that some of the aims of the project, you know, providing a better understanding of the range of helpful and unhelpful experiences online. But this will be particularly informative for future interventions in the context of diabetes that are online based, because there's more and more of them that are emerging in the diabetes community. And we want to make sure that young people who are encouraged to engage in online interventions also have the skills to navigate, you know, from the less helpful and harmful aspects of online content. As well as that, I suppose it's more broadly just to support the mental well-being of young people who are already at risk of mental health challenges, and we want to understand how online content can exacerbate that. It is, as I mentioned, it's a less understood area, so this is really very much a first step. It's an exploratory study, and it will hopefully provide a good foundation to develop future studies. And really, I guess, as well as you know, the crux of the aim, we also hope that this experience will sort of consolidate the team as it stands, and across Denmark and Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, and also to encourage the young people we recruit for the panel to continue to have a role in the research going forward. Yeah, so that's me. And I'm sorry if I went over time a little bit, but so thanks very much.